The shuttle's descent was smoother than any landing Hacked had experienced in years of racing, but his heart still pounded as if he were threading through an asteroid field. As the doors hissed open, Hack's sensitive nose was immediately assaulted by a barrage of unfamiliar scents: rich earth, fragrant vegetation, and the unmistakable freshness of clean, unrecycled air. "Well, what are you waiting for?" Killian's gruff voice broke through Hack's hesitation. "Thought you'd be the first one bounding out there, furball." Hack realized he had frozen at the threshold. With a deep breath, he took his first step onto the soil of Julius 9. The ground felt oddly soft beneath his paws, nothing like the unyielding metal decks he'd grown accustomed to. It's real," Hack squeaked, his whiskers twitching furiously as he tried to process the sensory overload. Around him, his fellow crew members were having similar reactions. Some laughed with joy, others wept silently, and a few, like Killian, kept glancing around, as if expecting an ambush at any moment. Jeb stepped up beside Hack, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Take it all in, my friend. We've earned this." But even as Hack marveled at the open sky above and the distant mountains on the horizon, a nagging voice in the back of his mind whispered caution. Years of racing had ingrained a deep-seated suspicion that anything too good to be true usually was. "It's not a trap, is it?" Captain Hack found himself asking, immediately feeling foolish for voicing his fears. Jeb's expression softened with understanding. "I know it's hard to believe, Hack, but this is real. We're free." As they were led towards a sleek transport vehicle, Hack couldn't help but notice Killian's twitchy behavior. The old weapons officer's eyes darted from side to side, his hand never far from where his blaster would have been. "Easy," Killian, Jeb murmured. "We're safe here." "With all due respect," Cap Killian growled, "I'll believe that when I've seen it with my own eyes. All of it." Hack empathized with Killian's wariness. After all, the human had been a prisoner even longer than the rest of them. Trust would not come easily to any of them. As they boarded the transport, Hack took one last look at the shuttle they'd arrived in. The broken promise was up there, docked in the massive carrier. For so long, that ship had been their entire world. Now, a whole planet lay before them, full of possibilities and potential dangers. The transport hummed to life, whisking them towards the city in the distance. Hack's paws tingled with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Their greatest adventure, it seemed, was just beginning. The transport glided smoothly through the outskirts of Arizona, the capital city of Julius 9. Hack's nose was practically pressed against the window, his large eyes drinking in every detail of the bustling metropolis. Towering spires of gleaming metal and glass reached towards the sky, while lush parks and gardens punctuated the urban landscape. "It's like something out of a dream," Hack murmured, more to himself than anyone else. Their guide, a cheerful young woman named Lyra, was in the middle of explaining the city's history when Hack's sensitive ears picked up a conversation at the front of the transport. So a voice said quietly to Jeb, "There's been a change of plans. Someone's here to see you." Hack's whiskers twitched with curiosity. He strained to hear more, catching fragments of the hushed exchange. Your wife, sir." She couldn't wait. Ilara, Jeb's voice was a mixture of disbelief and longing. "She's here." Hack's heart leaped. Jeb's wife. They had all heard so much about her over the years, Jeb's stories of home being a beacon of hope during their darkest races. Before Hack could process this information, the transport came to a stop. Jeb was quickly ushered out by a couple of officials, leaving the rest of the crew looking bewildered. Captain Killian called out, but Jeb was already gone, whisked away to his long-awaited reunion. A ripple of excitement passed through the crew. "Did you hear that?" one of them said. "The captain's wife is here." "I wish we could meet her," another added. "After all these years, it feels like we know her too." Hack nodded in agreement. Ilara had been a constant presence in their lives, even if only through Jeb's stories. She represented everything they had been fighting for: home, family, a life beyond the races. As the transport resumed its journey, Hack couldn't help but feel a tinge of envy. Not that he begrudged Jeb his reunion, but it was a stark reminder of what many of them had lost. The Hibbard wondered if he would ever see his own family again, or if they even remembered him after all this time. Lyra, noticing the change in mood, quickly tried to redirect their attention. "We're approaching the Central Plaza now," she announced brightly. "It's the heart of Arizona, where you'll find some of our finest restaurants and entertainment venues." But Hack's mind was elsewhere. As he gazed out at the city, he found himself imagining Jeb's reunion with Alara. Would she recognize him after all these years? Would she understand what they had been through? The Hibbard shook himself out of his reverie. This was supposed to be their time to explore and enjoy their newfound freedom. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. As they disembarked at the Central Plaza, surrounded by the sights and sounds of a thriving city, Hack made a silent promise to himself. Someday, somehow, he would find a way to thank Alara for being the beacon of hope that had kept them all going through their darkest times. For now, though, he had a new world to explore. With one last glance in the direction Jeb had disappeared, Hack turned his attention to the wonders of Arizona, ready to take his first real steps as a free being. As Jeb's unexpected departure sank in, Lyra quickly regained control of the group. "Let's continue our tour, shall we?" she said, her cheerful demeanor unwavering. "There's so much more to see." Hack found himself swept along with the group, his senses overwhelmed by the sights, sounds, and smells of Arizona. They wandered through bustling markets filled with exotic fruits and spices, past fountains that danced with light and water, and into grand plazas where citizens of countless species mingled freely. "This is the Grand Library of Arizona," Lyra announced as they approached a towering structure of crystal and stone. "It houses knowledge from across the galaxy, free for all to access." Hack's eyes widened at the thought. After years of limited information aboard the racing ships, the idea of unrestricted knowledge was intoxicating. As they moved through the city, Hack couldn't help but notice Killian's increasing agitation. The old weapons officer's eyes darted constantly, his posture tense, as if expecting an attack at any moment. "You all right there?" Killian Hack asked quietly. Killian grunted. "Too open. Too many unknowns. Don't like it." Hack understood. After years of confinement and constant danger, this freedom felt almost threatening in its vastness. Their tour took them to a public park, where families picnicked and children played without a care in the world. The scene was so far removed from their experiences that it felt almost surreal. "And here," Lyra said, gesturing to a gleaming building, "is one of our premier medical facilities. All citizens have access to top-notch healthcare, free of charge." This announcement caused a stir among the former racers. Many of them bore scars, both physical and mental, from their time in the races. The prospect of proper medical care was nothing short of miraculous. As the day wore on, Hack found his initial suspicions slowly giving way to cautious optimism. The people of Arizona seemed genuinely welcoming, and there were no signs of the oppression or cruelty they had come to expect from authority figures. "Our final stop for today," Lyra announced as the sun began to set, "is the Monument of Freedom." They arrived at a soaring structure, its twisting spires reaching towards the darkening sky. At its base, a plaque read in honor of all those who have fought and sacrificed for liberty across the galaxy. As Hack stared at the monument, he felt a lump form in his throat. For the first time, he truly began to believe that this freedom might be real, that they had escaped the endless cycle of deadly races and were now part of something greater. Looking around at his fellow former racers, Hack saw a mixture of emotions on their faces: hope, disbelief, and for some, like Killian, a lingering weariness. But there was also a growing sense of possibility, a realization that their lives could be more than just survival. As night fell over Arizona, bathing the city in a soft, warm glow, Hack allowed himself a small smile. As darkness settled over Arizona, Lyra guided the group towards the outskirts of the city. "We've prepared special accommodations for you all," she explained, her voice tinged with excitement. "I think you'll find them quite comfortable." The transport wound its way up into the rolling hills overlooking the city. Hack's nose twitched as he caught the scent of night-blooming flowers, a far cry from the sterile air of racing ships. "Here we are," Lyra announced as they crested a hill. "Your new homes." Hack's jaw dropped. Before them stood a cluster of elegant chateaus, their graceful lines silhouetted against the starry sky. Each building was spacious and well-appointed, a far cry from the cramped quarters they'd grown accustomed to. "These are for us?" Killian asked, his usual gruffness softened by disbelief. Lyra nodded, beaming. "One for each crew. We thought you'd appreciate staying close to your teammates." As they disembarked, Hack's paws sank into soft, cool grass. He couldn't remember the last time he'd felt something so natural beneath his feet. Inside their assigned chateau, Hack's eyes widened at the luxurious furnishings. Plush beds, a fully stocked kitchen, and even a holographic entertainment system awaited them. "There are clothes in your size in the bedrooms," Lyra explained, "and the kitchen is stocked with a variety of foods. If you need anything else, just use the comm system to call for assistance." As the crew explored their new accommodations, Hack found himself drawn to a large window overlooking the city. Arizona sprawled below, a tapestry of twinkling lights. In the distance, he could make out the massive silhouette of the fleet headquarters where they had landed just hours before. It was all so overwhelming. After years of fighting for survival, of never knowing if each race would be their last, this peace and comfort seemed almost unreal. Hack's reflections were interrupted by Killian's approach. The old weapons officer stood beside him, his weathered face uncharacteristically thoughtful. "Quite a view, furball," Killian murmured. Hack nodded. "It's beautiful." "But is it real, Killian? Can we really trust this?" Killian was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know," he finally admitted. "Old habits die hard. But I want to believe it. For the first time in a long time, I want to hope." As the rest of the crew settled in, laughing and marveling at their new home, Hack felt a curious mix of emotions. Excitement, yes, and gratitude, but also a deep-seated caution that he knew would take time to overcome. Looking out over Arizona once more, Hack made a silent promise to himself. He would embrace this new life, this freedom they had fought so hard for. But he would also remain vigilant, ready to protect his newfound family if the need ever arose. As the first light of dawn began to paint the sky, Hack curled up in a soft bed, his mind swirling with the events of the day. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new wonders to explore. But for now, safe in this beautiful chateau, surrounded by his crew, Hack allowed himself to truly relax for the first time in years. The race for survival was over. The journey to truly living was just beginning. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this. And please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.